Welcome to The Funnel. My name is John Shea, and I'm the president of Alignment Group. This is episode 197 of The Funnel, the OMG Sales Candidate Assessment Part 1. Most of you who have been listening to the podcast have heard me reference the Objective Management Group Sales Candidate Assessment, and I've done some podcasts where I've talked about it and gone through some of the specifics. The next two podcasts, I'm going to take a much deeper dive. I'm going to go into the specific content of the assessment, why it's important, what we're looking for, and hopefully that'll give you some insight as to why I feel like it's the best assessment that I've ever used. And if you go over to the website, alignment-group.com/funnel, and subscribe, of course, you'll get the show notes. We send that out once a week. We'll send out an email to you. You just click the link and all the show notes are there for everything we've published that week or the previous week. If you sign up during episode 197 and 198, I will send you a sample of the candidate assessment. So you get that as well. So head on over to The Funnel. Okay, so today's agenda, inside the numbers. We are different. Why so bad? What success looks like, the sales profile, and the dashboard. So let's jump right into the numbers, inside the numbers. Objective Management Group has assessed nearly 1 million salespeople. That's a lot of salespeople. 92% of the sales candidates that are recommended and hired reach the top half of the sales force within 12 months. 92%. 75% of the candidates that are not recommended but hired anyway failed within 6 months. So there are some folks that give the assessment, it comes back not recommended. They do the interview, they like them, and they hire them. 75% of those folks fail within 6 months. Now, are we saying don't interview, just hire off the assessment? No, you have to go through the interview process and do everything you're supposed to do, onboard them, et cetera, and the outcome is going to be high. And what have I been saying over the past, number of podcasts as we've learned the hiring process and onboarding process? We're reducing risk. There's no 100% guarantee because we're dealing with human beings. But the more we put these programs and processes in place and we use an assessment, we reduce the risk of failure. That increases the likelihood of success. 6% of all salespeople that have been assessed through the candidate process and the sales rep assessment are what OMG and what we would consider as elites. 20% are doing well, but could do better. 74% are failing, but can improve with coaching and development. And I say here, 25% can't be helped. So what I mean by can't be helped, what I mean is they're not coachable, they're not trainable. They really shouldn't be in this role. They shouldn't be in this sales role. They should go do something else. It's important to understand these numbers. This is very indicative of what we see nationwide in sales, right? If you go to a company and you talk to a company about their salespeople, they'll tell the same story over and over and over again. These numbers as an industry aren't good. Imagine if 74% of the doctors were failing but can improve, or 74% of the attorneys. Now, you might say that that's happening anyway, or engineers, or et cetera, et cetera. You see the point I'm making here. It's not a real good indicator for the industry. Now, here's what I hear all the time, and I hear this pretty much every day of the week when I talk to prospects, I talk to customers. It's just amazing. I hear that we are different. Well, we're different. We're in a different industry. When I was selling or a sales manager and VP, I used to hear the same thing. I used to say the same thing. Well, we're different. We're in a different industry. We're a different company. Things are, you have to understand, we have blank, 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 blank. And I just say, okay. But I will tell you this. Everyone claims to be different. The results within reason are the same. You go to a company and you look down the sales roster And the numbers pretty much match the numbers I just shared with you. They have a couple of people succeeding, a number that are failing, some that are mediocre could do better. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter your industry or your business at all for those numbers to be accurate. Now, I hear we are different for any number of things when I'm talking to prospects and clients. We're different because we have really good sales reps that sell their own way, they manage their own day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The numbers don't lie. You can't build a world-class sales organization, a high-performing sales organization with growth in mind, with 30 different reps, with 30 different sales processes, managing themselves. It can't be done. So you're not so different than other companies. What you sell might be different. The people are slightly different. Some of the products or processes, I get that. I get that. But we're dealing with human beings here. And the results pretty much bear this out when we do assessments, not only candidate assessments, but sales rep assessments across industries. It's pretty much the same, pretty clear. So why is that important that I bring that up? Because I think first you need to understand you're not alone. That this is a problem everywhere. Some industries may have a percent of higher turnover rate. Some may have a 50% turnover rate. Others could have 70, 80, 90% turnover rate. Okay? You can reduce that. You can help yourself get better. Then you can be the anomaly. You can be the ones that aren't the same. You can be different. For real, be different. You can be different than your competitors because you're not turning people over every 6 months. In a former lifetime, we got there. Our industry had 70, 80, 90% turnover rate. New reps didn't last any more than 6 months. And we had an average tenure of 7.5 years for reps and a bench because we fixed that problem with similar processes and assessments, et cetera, as to what I'm talking about here. I was part of that resolution. So I know it can be done. So why so bad? Why is it so bad out there? I think the answer is pretty simple, and it's interesting. But if you think about it, there's no real higher education focus on sales. You go to college, you go to grad school, you're doing marketing. A lot of folks that I've talked to, marketing majors, business. I was business finance, economics. There can be any number of, right? It's endless, the number of different degrees you can get. But sales doesn't have that. There's no real formal education. Now, there's sporadic. There are some classes out there. There are some universities that are beginning to talk about it. But as a general rule, most people in sales, 99.9999% of us, didn't come through a formal training program, like a higher education, a college program or grad school program to become salespeople. We've had no formal training on it. So we're at the mercy, to some degree, of the companies that hire us. The reps are at the mercy of you hiring them and onboarding them and training them. And I believe this, as sure as I'm sitting here, that a good percentage of salespeople that are trainable and coachable that come out of college, if they find the right first or second job, they can be highly successful because they were trained properly. They were hired properly, onboarded properly, and trained properly. Those reps that weren't, they're destined for the middle of the road. And quite frankly, a lot of companies settle. So you have some reps out there that are making decent coin that aren't that good because there's no one else out there to hire. I also believe that sales reps come from all walks of life, right? And I think that's true of any industry. But if you come out of college with an education degree or an engineering degree or an architectural degree, you can go into sales. If you come out with an architectural degree, you really can't go into engineering without going back to school. You can go into teaching, but you need to go back and get your certificate if you want to formalize that. and you want to teach in the public school system. Anybody with a degree, and quite frankly, without a degree, in some cases, can sell. They can send in their resume, fill out an application, do an interview, and get hired. So they come from all walks of life. So what does that have to do with it? Well, they have different training for engineers than they do for teachers. And, some industries require a little more attention to detail. So you have those folks that are highly organized, highly detail focused, versus some that maybe are a little bit less. I'm just saying that without that formal training and people coming from all walks of life, it's a very interesting mix. I also feel like salespeople feel like they can do their own thing because there's no higher education focus, because there's no formal training, and in most cases, early in their career, they've been hired by poor managers with poor onboarding and poor training. So they feel like they can do their own thing. They build walls around themselves that say, I'm going to protect this because you don't know what you're doing. I worked with a guy, great sales rep. Needed some help in areas coaching and training, but he'd been through so many managers in his career, he was gun shy. He was waiting for the managers to get fired or to quit. He just waited them out. You see that a lot with sales reps, especially senior level sales reps. They're not opening themselves up to anybody and risking what they have for you because their career is littered with the garbage of really bad hires, really bad onboarding, and really bad training. So what happens? Well, a lot of those people become managers and they hire and they make bad hires for salespeople. The cycle just keeps continuing. And then finally, the sales myth. Everybody buys into the sales myth. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Oh, you have to be a good talker. No, you have to be a really good listener to sell. Sure, you have to talk. I know, I talk, but I listen. You have to be an extrovert. That's one of the other ones. You have to be an extrovert. Extroverts make great salespeople. I'm not an extrovert, believe it or not. I'm nice to people when I'm out in public. I say please and thank you. I talk to folks in a store, but I don't go out of my way to be the life of the party. I don't go out of my way to walk up and shake 100 hands and kiss babies. That's not me. And the vast majority of people that I know that are in sales, it's not them. You don't have to be an extrovert to be in sales. You can be. It's not a requirement. The sales myth of a great personality as the sort of the barometer for being a good sales rep, it's wrong. It's wrong. The myth is all wrong. There's a lot of factors that go into being a good sales rep. Not just one. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Ask every marketing person if they've ever been offered a sales job and they'll tell you yes. Why? Because as a general rule, marketing people are very outgoing and personable. As a general rule. Now see, I'm putting a myth on them. But I've never met one that's not very personable, happy, smiling, just outgoing people. I've been to HubSpot's annual event, inbound, 10,000 people, and 9,953 are marketing folks. It's a very happy crowd, very outgoing crowd, and it's exciting. It's not a requirement for sales, so they buy into the myth. So what does success look like? I think it's simple in many ways, but it's also can be complicated. So I just sort of contradicted myself. I think I'll start with the Objective Management Group candidate assessment. 4 key elements that come out of this. Desire. How badly do you want to be good at sales? How high will you raise that bar? How hard will you work? How is that desire? Some assessments check, your desire. This is your desire in sales. You may have desire to succeed. I have a high desire to succeed. That doesn't mean I have high desire to succeed in sales. I do, but just because you have a great desire doesn't mean sales. So this is in the context of sales. Commitment. How committed are you to meeting goals? How committed are you to take the extra step, to do what you're supposed to do? Again, commitment is commitment. Commitment to sales, to meeting those sales objectives, to hitting those sales targets, to doing what it takes to be successful. Next, the third key element, responsibility. Are you the kind of person who blames others when you fall short? Or do you take full responsibility? So I tell these stories because I think they're relevant. My kids hate me because I don't allow them to blame other people for their problems. You made me late. Make you late? You didn't tell me what time you had to leave. You didn't even ask me. You just ran down here and said I have to go. I'm making this up, but the point is when they bring that to me, I push it back on them and say, no, wait. What could you have done better to make this go away? What could you have done better to succeed? Everybody else failed the test. Everybody else had trouble with this. The teacher's a jerk. Okay. I don't care. Could you have studied harder? Maybe have gone to a tutor? Talk to the teacher after class about the test coming up? Did you do any of that? No. No? Take some responsibility. Are you the kind of person that blames the economy on falling short? Are you the kind of person that blames your manager or other salespeople or the company or the product? Or do you just go out and take responsibility and get the job done? Next of the 4 key elements, outlook. Outlook's 4th, right? How happy are you in your job, your company, your life, yourself? Good positive outlook means you're probably enjoying what you're doing. It's critical to success. Critical. And we're looking at desire, commitment, responsibility, and outlook in the assessment. And as we dig deeper in this, I'll go right through every part of the assessment. This is sort of laying the groundwork for what's to come next. So those are the 4 key elements. So how do we go about setting up the assessment? Well, first, we build the sales profile. And when I work with folks on, I start with job description too. You know, I want to know exactly what the job entails. People usually send me their job descriptions and they're very vague and gray. So I kind of go through it with them and make sure we detail it out. This is what's expected of you in this job. Once we have that, then we look at the profile. Okay, and the profile is benchmark against the assessment. We benchmark the assessment against the profile, against the ideal. We don't benchmark it against the million people that have taken it. We benchmark against the ideal, right? Because what if we benchmarked against other people in your company that were successful and they weren't that good? So you understand why. Part of this process is the profile. It's specific to your job, your industry, how you manage, how you sell. So we're going to ask a series of questions and we're going to build out that profile. How hard is this job? How difficult is it? What's your management style? I personally prefer closely managed. Some people don't. We need to know that. We need to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. What's the average sale? What's the profit, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to lay all that out in your profile. That's the first thing, because that's what the assessment's going to be benchmarked against. When someone takes the assessment, we're benchmarking against your profile, not somebody else's in somebody else's company and somebody else's industry. So we want to know what the ideal looks like with that. So we start with your profile. And inside the assessment, you'll see the responses to the profile. You'll see how they match up to that. And we'll get into that in the next podcast. What's really cool is you get a really nice dashboard. So the first page opens up to a dashboard and it gives you everything you need to know. And here's what I like about this. You can talk to me, and I do a class on hiring and onboarding. I teach people and I coach them on how to hire and onboard. And I take you from the very beginning of the hiring process. That's this part of it, identifying what it is that you want, creating the job description, the profile, right through to hiring somebody. Every little part in between, the interview process, everything, and then on to onboarding. The great part about the dashboard is there's these little video icons, little video camera icons. If you click on that icon, you'll get a quick, maybe minute and a half, some are even shorter, video of Dave Kurlan, who created the Objective Management Group Sales Candidate Assessment. And it's been evolved over the years, a real tight explanation of what it is you're looking at. So if I'm not available, just click on the video. Even if I am, click on the video. Some really cool stuff in there. He really nails it every time. So you click that video and you get that 30-second response from him on exactly what it is that you're looking at on that dashboard. But it's nice and clean. It's a one-page dashboard summary of everything that's inside that assessment. The will to sell. Everything that's under that will to sell. The recommendation. Is it a thumbs up? Yeah, we recommend this person. Not recommended? And the middle of the road one? Okay. Worthy of consideration. Why do you have worthy of consideration? Because we don't want to give a thumbs down if they meet like our objective management group criteria, but they don't, maybe there's a couple things they don't meet on your profile, maybe the industry or something like that, but they fit everywhere else. So we're thinking, hey, you might want to take if you get through all your recommended candidates, you might want to take a look at this one. Not recommended, no way. We give you a sales quotient, we attach a number, and I'll walk through that. We look at the sales DNA. Those are the things that either help or hurt you in the sales process. And they're sort of hidden a little bit. So they can either lift you up as you go through your process and methodology, or they can drag you down. And we'll talk about that. Then your selling competencies, right? The standard stuff, hunting, all of that good stuff. And then there's some other scores in there we'll talk about on the dashboard. So when we pick this up next time, I'm going to go through the entire assessment, walk you through what's happening inside that assessment, give you sort of an inside view. Again, if you subscribe to the funnel, alignment-group.com, I'll send you the show notes. And of course, with this podcast and the next one, I'll send you a sample of the sales candidate assessment for you to review. Of course, you can find us on social media, Facebook, on Twitter at ShayJohnR, LinkedIn. I took Google Plus off because, quite frankly, it's just not relevant anymore. You can email me, jshay@alignment-group.com. Head to our website. Hit the library there. There's all kinds of downloads. There's even some downloads for hiring and the onboarding categories. And I think there's some stuff in there on questions to ask candidates. There's some good stuff in the library you can download. alignment-group.com. Thank you for subscribing, and until next time, keep filling the funnel.